Hello and welcome to the Library Connection. I'm Summer Newman-Ernest, and joining me today is Dr. Todd Freeman, the Superintendent of Sylacauga City Schools. We're so excited to have him here. I know that you have a super busy schedule, and so thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a little while since you've been here in Sylacauga. Still new, but not as new as you were last time you were on the Library Connection. Just briefly refresh our memory as to how long you've been in this position and here in town.
All right, thanks, Summer. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, too. Came in July of 2013, started on July 1st. We moved in on June the 30th, so we wasted no time getting ourselves in Sylacauga. And so it's been a fast year and a half.
It has.
A little bit more than a year and a half. It's been a fast time, and our family's grown, and it keeps growing. So there's been a lot of really wonderful change for us living in Sylacauga.
Well, we were so excited to have you here to get you into this city, and I know that just in that short amount of time that you've done some wonderful things for the schools as well as for the community. I know that anybody who passes or is traveling along the streets is seeing one of the major things or major changes that's been going on are updated and new facilities here in town. Starting with the high school, tell us a little bit about what's been done, what's being done.
Okay, I inherited a large capital campaign that was taking place when I got here in July 2013. We were finishing up the first phase of work at the high school, which was a new classroom addition. And that classroom addition holds all of our career tech programs, our core classes. It's where the bulk of our instruction takes place, and that's a beautiful side. And so what we have been doing over the past year as we have been taking the front, and we've expanded some office space and are redoing the front to match that first phase of work. And it is going to conclude probably in the next month. I'd say in February we'll be finished up with that. And we have just begun a third phase at the high school, which is renovations of the two existing gyms. And then we're going to take the library completely apart and we're going to expand it. If you've been in the high school, you know that there's a corridor to enter into the library. We're going to take that and go across into classrooms and expand it and update it to what you would refer to more as a 21st century environment for learning. So there's a lot happening at high school, and I'd say we're still a healthy year and a half away from finishing up.
Wow, well, and I know that it's been trying for the students there and the faculty there, but they're so appreciative. And if you haven't seen just the new classrooms, being a graduate of Sylacauga High School as well as a teacher there, it makes me so proud, and it was something that was much needed. The facilities are second to none. The computer labs, the technology, like you said, the career tech rooms, I'm a little partial to science, but the science labs
are fabulous.
Are excellent. And I know that it's just going to continue to look better. It's funny with the gyms, if you're from Sylacauga, you still call it the new gym and the old gym.
That's right.
And when my husband moved here, he said, that's the new gym. Which is, I don't even know, 40 years old. I mean, it's still pretty old. So that's something that is needed.
It is.
And I know will be a prize for this city and for the people in it. And I know they're just ready to see it done, but it looks great.
Well, you know, some of the facilities of a school system I think are really very important. First thing people see, it's the image of the district and the image of the community. So you want that to be in top-notch shape, and we're fortunate in the city of Sylacauga that we've got so much local support financially to be able to do the things we can do with these buildings.
Right, I agree. And not only does it recruit, teachers and faculty, but when people are wanting to move here, as opposed to somebody just working here and then driving in from somewhere else, that when you have, I think, top-notch education as well as the facilities, that it makes people more apt or more likely to want to actually live in this community.
So true. And for many years prior to my coming here, I can tell you the most iconic building from an outsider's perspective is the library. It's such a beautiful facility, the things that go on inside the library, the presentation areas, the meeting rooms, and just the volumes themselves. So I think it in itself sets a high standard for the community, and we want our school systems, because we work in such close partnership with library, I think we ought to be hand in hand with maintaining what's an excellent look.
I agree, and we appreciate that with the Library Connection. But it's so true that people who, it's beautiful from the outside, but once you go into the library, you really are amazed. And I've lived, as well as you, in Auburn and Birmingham and other wonderful cities, but I feel like our library, the facilities, and of course the services and the people there are as great as any of the big cities. It's amazing what they can do with with the funds that they have, the many programs, the children's programs. Something that's special to me is the marble, the sculptures there. You don't realize it's like a museum as well because of the sculptures that they have there on display. And so we're proud of that, and we're proud of the things that are happening in the school. Something that I'm excited about is that pretty soon the Board of Education, or the central office rather, will have a new location. Tell us about that.
That's right. Back in the fall, we began taking a close look at the old First National Bank building, and that building was built in 1965 and it's another icon of the city. I believe that beautiful marble in the front of it.
Gorgeous.
And then it had an addition added to it. But nevertheless, we began looking at it closely in the fall. It's about 16,000 square feet. It's larger than the current location we have now. And we were able to purchase that building for $195,000, which includes the furniture that I would say is valued at $300,000 at least.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we felt like we got a great bargain for that. And we'll be able to renovate it, and we can get renovated in the building with the purchase we will save over $1 million as opposed to have built a new building for our central office.
Right.
And I think that's a responsible way to spend the local tax dollars that we have for this type work. And I'm hopeful that by the summer we can move in, but it will probably be fall, I think, before it will be completely finished.
Get in there. Yeah. Well, I'm excited just to see something downtown on Broadway. Yeah. We don't want those empty buildings, and it is such a beautiful building with the marble facade, and not to waste money on offices, which, as a parent or if you have a student, then you want as much money as possible spent on actually education in the students.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you being so fiscally responsible with that. I know there's another huge project that's on the table right now, and it has to do with our stadium and some athletic renovations.
That's right. When I did a couple of things that I thought were important when we were looking at the bank, and then we've been talking about the stadium, and that was to learn about the history of the facility itself. So I spent some time with what I would say are some of our local historians to learn some things, reading, and also spent some time in the library archives. And that is a fascinating place to be. And I looked back in the 1960s when I was looking at the bank building at its foundation, who the architects were, and when it was built, and it made headline news, in our local papers. And so it's fun to watch that and see it. And then also I spent some time looking at our stadium and learning about it. And that stadium is about 67 years old.
Wow.
When it was constructed and called Legion Stadium, at some point it was a beautiful facility. It still is. But it is 67 years old, as I said, and it's in need of some renovation and repair work. And so when we first arrived here, I began having conversations with Dr. Suzanne Lacey with Talladega County Board of Education about that facility. The city owns it, but we share it. Sylacauga does with B.B. Comer. And we began to formulate ideas on what we would like the stadium to be. And then we began to talk about the way to finance doing some work on the stadium. That led us into this past year when we began looking at a redesign of it and how we would be able to accomplish that financially. And so we've come up with a plan that you can see on our Sylacauga City Schools Facebook page and learn about it, that I think is a wonderful renovation and upgrade of that facility. And it is our intention to ask the voters on February the 24th, that's an important day, to consider extending the 9.5 mil tax, property tax locally, that is set to expire in October of 2024. If we can extend that for an additional 25 years, we can refinance debt that we currently have, which, by the way, will save us over $1 million just because our interest rates are so low. So when you use that with new money and a significant contribution from Talladega County Schools, which they're involved as well, then we can do this work, and we also can be prepared for other long-term needs such as roof replacements or some of our aging buildings that need attention. So there's always going to be that capital need to make your facilities look good. And our idea, Summer, is if we get this passed on February 24th and our voters vote for it, then we'll start a full design process, and we would be ready to go on that stadium at the conclusion of the football season this fall.
Wow. Well, and I know being a part of this community community, loving the city like I do, that's something that you have to invest in.
Absolutely.
The stadium is so iconic. You know, you drive by it, and whether you like it or not, athletics is really a way that most people see our school system. You know, from other schools, parents aren't coming into our classrooms, they're coming to our football stadium when they are opposing team, or when there's a track, you know, meet there. And so that's a wonderful way to showcase our schools, and we want to present, you know, the best possible picture that we can, and not only from, you know, beauty and aesthetics, but it's a safety concern with an age of that stadium.
That's right. There's a lot of work from a safety perspective we need to accomplish, but we also want to enhance concession facilities. We want to enhance entrance areas. We want to have the visitors to be able to have appropriate facilities on their side, expand our press box, parking. There are a lot of things that you can see, you know, if you view the presentation. I think it's a really good plan that will serve our kids well. You know, I talk about the 3 A's when I talk about looking at education. The first priority being academics, making sure you're taking care of those things, and financing the way you need to. And we do a good job locally of providing funds for that. The next thing is that you think about activities, you know, and what are all those activities that go into what the schools kids do, and providing facilities for them to be able to do that. Athletics is also something as well, and you can add a fourth, being arts.
Definitely.
When you talk about that, because you know, I think when you talk about the whole education of a child, you're talking about activities, you're talking about some type of athletics, you're talking about the arts and academics, and that's a full plate of preparing our kids. And it takes facilities to be able to do that.
Right, it does. And I think just to be a responsible member of this community, whether you have school-age children or it's your grandchildren, or you just want to see Sylacauga to continue to be the wonderful area that it is, that you must, you know, devote those funds to. And so February 24th is a very important date for the future of our schools and for our city, to make sure that you go out and vote in favor of just continuing this tax that's helped to provide those funds for renovations. So we're excited to see that support and to see the growth and the change. It's just very exciting. And like I said, it was something that I think was much needed. You talked a little bit about the arts, and we're going to get into that because I know that that's something that you're passionate about. I am as well, and we are, of course, at the library. But before we do that, I know there were a few other renovations. Not only, it wasn't just the high school. Aren't you looking to maybe some things with the elementary schools, or I know there was something recently?
Yeah, well, you know, in 2010, we renovated, we actually built new gymnasiums at Pinecrest and Indian Valley. As part of our long-term planning, there are some things that we'll take care of at Indian Valley and Pinecrest. That we have a couple of those buildings. Pinecrest has one that's over 50 years old.
Wow.
Indian Valley is not too far behind. So if you think about the lifespan of a building, those are at some point reach a point where it costs more to renovate and to maintain as opposed to build. And so as part of our long-range planning, we'll be looking at those areas very closely. And we've already scheduled out, you know, over that 30-year period of time what we would want to do. Nichols Lawson at some point will need a new roof, and then it will need interior work. So those things will be coming down the line. I'd say in the next 2 years, the priority will be finishing the high school, and then should the voters agree to the tax extension, getting the stadium ready to go.
Well, that's all exciting. We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll talk with Dr. Todd Freeman, the Superintendent of Sylacauga City Schools, about some future plans and some of the wonderful things that we have going on here in our school system.
Right Tire and Service on West Fort Williams in Sylacauga is the right place for you. We carry the right tires for your car: Goodyear, Cooper, General, Michelin, and lots more. Right Tire and Service is also your right choice when it comes to all of your automotive service needs. Whether it's an oil change, front-end alignment, brake service, or air conditioner work, make the right choice the first time and stop by Right Tire and Service, Sylacauga.
In Central Alabama, 9,100 kids face going to bed hungry tonight. Hunger doesn't take a day off. There are kids right here, right now, that don't know where they'll get their next meal. Join Alabama Childhood Food Solutions and help put an end to childhood hunger in Central Alabama. Make a difference. Donate today, by mail or online, to help ACFS feed hungry kids. There's no better time to share than now. Their next meal could come from you.
There's one pharmacy that's so much more than just a drugstore. That's Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga. From cards for all occasions, a huge selection of gifts, even great exclusive Alabama and Auburn stuff, all kinds of household needs, and a complete selection of over-the-counter meds and supplies that you would expect. We are more than just a drugstore, but with our friendly, courteous staff and all of our great extras, we ought to be your drugstore. We're Marble City Pharmacy in Ogletree Plaza.
Any meal, anytime, it's a Huddle House on Highway 280. From the popular Huddle House Signature Waffle to our Big House breakfast, including gravy and biscuit and loaded hash browns, it's a Huddle House. Try our Philly cheese steak omelet. It's a sure hit, too. Our Big House sandwich combos include Huddle burger and country fried steak. And for lunch or dinner, it's the often requested chopped steak with mushroom gravy. Starting to get hungry? Head to the Huddle House. Our friendly and experienced team await you. Huddle House, Highway 280, any meal, anytime.
Hello and welcome back to the Library Connection. Joining us today is Dr. Todd Freeman, the Superintendent of Sylacauga City Schools. We've been discussing many of the exciting new renovations and facilities at the schools, especially the high school, as well as an important vote that's coming up February 24th to extend and continue a tax that's going to help to hopefully do some renovations at our stadium and all of the future long-range plans that we have. I know that there's some exciting programs that are going on in our schools, some new things that are going on. For instance, what is STEM, S-T-E-M?
Good question. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And if you look at the jobs available and that are projected to be available for our next generation of kids, it is largely in one of those fields. The ability to earn decent wages, strong wages, aren't necessarily going to be in four-year degrees as much as the skills in either science, technology, engineering, and math. So we're changing our focus in education that more thinks about the skill set as opposed to a four-year, six-year, eight-year degree.
Right. And so how, I know we've talked about, and we'll get into, there's a lot of programs differentiating areas of interest at the high school, but are there any plans to do this even in the elementary level? Yeah,
we are working on some strategy to address the STEM focus in our schools. At Pinecrest next year, we're going to have a different design on how we do enrichment. That's something that our curriculum instruction folks and the staff at Pinecrest are working on, that's going to offer what I'd say is enriching opportunities for all of our students. And that's going to be, when you add that to music and the art classes that they have, it gives them a wide range of things that are related to science, technology, engineering, and math. We are also looking at programs that will advance the STEM instruction and learning in our schools. There's a program called Project Lead the Way, which has nationally become a well-known opportunity to develop project-based learning styles for students that focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. That has received accolades across the nation when it's been implemented. That's something that we're looking to do as well. And we have a focus as well on how we are teaching math and how we are teaching science. Those are some new things that you'll see taking place next year. It's really exciting. The recent state scores that were released on what's called the Aspire test, grades 3 through 8, identifies math and science as really the weaker areas throughout the state, and we're no exception, and it's an area of focus for us. And what I can guarantee is there's great instruction taking place in our schools with our teachers. We want to make sure that we're providing the maximum amount of opportunities in this area for our students, and I think that's going to yield results.
Well, that's exciting. As a science teacher, of course, and I know that should be an emphasis. And Pinecrest seems to be doing some wonderful things through community gardens with SAFE. I know that that's a wonderful learning opportunity for those students. I know even the library was recently presenting something with some new technology that those students and parents are learning about, that we even have ebooks available at the library. And while some people are still dedicated to those paper-bound, leather-bound books, that ebooks are, for young people especially, even for myself, a much easier way to read and to go through books quickly, and so that the library allows people to check those out electronically for free, which is wonderful.
One of the things that I've been appreciative of and quite impressed with is the library's intention to make sure that they are providing volumes that support what we are doing in the schools.
Right.
The Common Core curriculum standards in math and English is one example of that, and there are a lot of nonfiction books that have been purchased recently to support that are in the library. They have focus on the STEM curriculum areas. There's a real purpose in making sure the library supports the overall learning process of our students. So that in itself is another accolade that you can
and that's the goal of the library, I think, to continue to evolve and to meet the needs of the community, be it the school system, be it senior citizens, that they try to really reach every area. Right. In the high school, I know there's some excellent and much recognized state and national-wide programs. Tell us just a quick little bit about the Career Tech program at Sylacauga High School.
If you look at the what jobs are going to be in our future, in our region of the state and in our nation, you will find that the majority of those are in health sciences, they're in some technological fields, they're in construction, they're in some type of business. In fact, careerbuilder.com has a list of the 10 most important or the most needed jobs in the future. Sylacauga High School's Career Tech programs have 9 of 10 of those covered with the offerings that we have in business and in health science, in pre-engineering, in the multimedia work that they do, in the family and consumer sciences. So we've got 9 of 10 of those covered, and we're working on covering the 10th one.
Wow.
But one of the things that to me is indicative of a quality program is the ability to compete. And our FBLA is a perennial winner at state and even national competitions with their work. Recently, our robotics team has become quite successful. In their first year, they finished second in a regional competition and finished very well at Auburn University in the Southeast region competition. So the career technical programs have long been a foundation at Sylacauga City Schools, and for the first time, and as long as I can remember as an educator, career and technical programs are getting the attention they deserve, because it's those programs that can best prepare us for those STEM jobs and for the jobs that our workforce in our community and state are going to need.
Right, and that's much more a way to reach these students, for them to find what it is that they're interested in. You know, so many times everybody had taken the same courses, and then you get to college or post, secondary career, and you don't know what you want to do. And so to have these different emphases, be it health services, or if someone thinks they need to be a nurse or want to be, that they can actually explore those while they are in high school to see if indeed that is an area that they might, find interest in. Something that's dear to my heart, and I know yours as well. We talked about academics and activities with athletics, but arts, and you have, in a very short amount of time, put a lot of emphasis on the arts, and something that I'm very passionate about. Tell us about some of the new positions that have recently been created in the school system.
The arts, I can't tell you how important I believe it is. I can't really express it in words, but from a technical perspective of learning, much of what we do in schools has to do with this left brain learning, which is the organizational things, and it's something that I'm certainly more of a left brain person administratively. But you also need, particularly in our job market today, very creative, innovative thinkers, and that's the right brain working. And the arts is the best way to bring about the right brain thinkers, the innovation and the creativity, I believe. And what we did last year is we began to look at how we could expand the programs. You can go to the library most any time during the year, and I've been to some of these presentations where folks are presenting, they're jazz musicians or accomplished pianists or whatever the case may be. There's always been a long-standing ability to make sure that that's a priority with the library. We want to do the same thing in the schools for our community. So we brought the visual arts to the elementary schools this year. So each student in our elementary schools, grade K through 5, one day a week will have visual arts, and one day a week they'll have music. And then in the high school and middle school, they can take band classes, or they can take theater classes, or they can take visual arts classes, or they can be in the choir. And we added the choral program this year. And we want to only expand those and have collaborative performances with them. One of the things that we are looking to prioritize with some of the savings from how we're doing our central office design is we want to commit some funds to doing some renovation in our auditorium, because that's where our arts really get a lot of attention. It is a beautiful facility. It needs some attention. It needs some things to put it in top condition so our students have the best of the best with art. So yes, it's important to me. It's something that I've long since been a part of in different ways, and it has helped me in so many ways, and I know the value of arts. And in a day of public education where resources are tight, a lot of times that gets moved out. And to me, it's one of the most critical and fundamental parts of a student's education.
Well, and that's what I was so pleased, because like you said, it is a lot of times the first thing that gets cut out. You know, when I feel like it should have just as much emphasis as an athletic or any other type of activity, and especially for those students who in our community might not have access to theater or voice lessons or music lessons. And so just to be able to spark that interest perhaps at such a young age, and who knows, you know, what that might lead to, I think is so pivotal, and I'm so glad that we have an emphasis back on it, and that it's even available for our students at the elementary as well as the high school level. One thing that I was so pleased when you and your wife moved here is just immediately your involvement in the community. It's one thing to be a leader here, but to also say that you are actively involved in so many aspects. For instance, today you were at Leadership Sylacauga, and you took a quick break to come over here, and it seems, I'm sure you're spread a little thin with all of your activities, but tell me a little bit about some of community involvement.
My mentor for many years in my last school system really instilled the value of public relations and working with, because the constituents really are, you know, if customers ever what you want to say, those the folks that live in the community, they are the ones that I answer to on behalf of the board. So that's important to reach out and listen and hear from. So we've had opportunity to do that. We're involved in Rotary, which meets weekly, and that's been a great experience as well. And we're doing Leadership Sylacauga this year, which has been a great learning experience for me on top of that. And then I serve on the board with SAFE, and recently started serving on the chamber board. So it's given me a really nice perspective of the different entities in our city. And I'm enjoying that. My wife, Rachel, as you know, she is extremely gifted in the ability to get to know people and communicate. That's such a strong thing that she does well, and she's networked and created a lot of close friendships. She's involved in some of the community clubs, such as
Arts Council,
Garden Club, and so I appreciate not only her willingness to do it, but her desire to want to do it.
Right. Well, you've been a great addition to our community. One thing that not everyone knows about you is that you are extremely musically gifted. If you ever had an opportunity to see a wonderful pianist and performance around Christmas time that you had at First Baptist Church, but not only are you an excellent pianist, but an excellent singer, a vocalist as well, and a member of a gospel band. Tell me just a little bit about that.
Yeah, we the group I sing with, the 5 guys in our band, and it was called A Few Good Men, and we've actually performed in Sylacauga the last couple years since I've been here at the First Baptist Church, and we've been singing together probably about 7 years, have known each other a little bit longer than that, and we're not a professional group by any stretch, but we have a good time and enjoy the message of what we do more than anything, and singing's always been important to me, and I wouldn't consider myself very strong with it, but I enjoy it. Singing in adult choirs and children's choirs and ensembles throughout my childhood and adult life, it's just been part of what I do and enjoy doing, and have gained a lot from it. And I started taking piano in about the 2nd grade and took till I was a sophomore in college, and then it got a little complicated to do that. But enjoy playing, and I really was privileged in the fall to practice and in December be able to play with 4 other pianists at First Baptist Church, and what a talented group they were. I felt privileged to be a part of that. It was enjoyable. Once again, if you just look at the people that come to events and the numbers that will come to the Library Connection, I was there back in December, and it was standing room only for one of the events. That's one example. And if you think about appearances, arts things that take place at churches and even at schools, a lot of people attend that. It's still very important to people.
It is. Well, we just appreciate everything that you're doing in the community. Want to make sure that we get full support on that February 24th tax vote, so we can continue to do wonderful things together. Thank you so much, Dr. Todd Freeman, for joining us today on the Library Connection.